Dr. Paul, thank you for coming and standing before these revolutionary voters. I'm Reverend Kenny White, and I have two questions. One, we send people on the promises of damage control. You know, get rid of Reed, get rid of Pelosi. But what I want to know is, what are you going to do to repeal the damage that's already been done? I mean, get back the things we've already lost.
It's a good question. It's much harder to repeal than it is to stop initially. For example, if this health care bill goes through, and then there's a big wave of Tea Party candidates and conservatives that get elected in November, to repeal it, not only do we have to have a majority, but then we have to overcome President Obama's veto. So if this thing gets through, we're stuck with it until we at least get rid of the president again. So it's very hard, but I will do everything I can. I'm not going up there just to slow down the flood of what's going on. I want to radically change things towards constitutional government. I will.
Okay. And we're going to take the questions of those in line, and then that will be all the time we have, okay? So go ahead. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My name is Joe Merrick. I want to thank all of you for being here and giving us a chance to have a say, which I don't think many of us feel like we have in Washington anymore. My question is, there's been an old saying in this country not to throw your vote away to someone that you don't think can win. It's got a little bit of consistency to it, but if we vote, say, for a Tea Party member, which I support, how do we not dilute the vote from a Republican put in a liberal Democrat?
Well, I'm running, I am a Republican, so you're not going to be diluting the Republican vote.
You are running as
I'm a Republican and always have been. And so I don't think that's a worry. It is a worry, like, for example, in Nevada, and this is a discussion the Tea Party ultimately has to decide, is it going to work within the parties or become a party. In Nevada, there's a Tea Party candidate, a Republican, and Harry Reid. And that could keep Harry Reid back in if the Tea Party siphons off the Republican vote. I'm not in favor of really starting another party at this point. I think we work within the two parties.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope you let Mr. Martin have his say like that.
We have that plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul, for coming here today and the rest of the panel. My question is, what do you believe the Founding Fathers meant when they said a well-regulated militia?
A good question. Some people think that means some sort of National Guard at the state level. I think it means private ownership of a weapon in your house. I've been endorsed by the Gun Owners of America. I'm going from here to Knob Creek later this afternoon. So that gives me an indication of where I stand. I will not vote for any federal regulation of firearms. In fact, I'll try to repeal some of the ones that passed.
All right.
Very good. I believe that a well-regulated militia is a well-trained militia, and the right of the people do have the right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Rand, I want to add my thanks for you being here this morning. I have a simple question. We hear so much about Social Security being in trouble financially, and yet both parties, during the night, it seems, keep taking money out of Social Security fund. Now, what can be done, and specifically, what would you do to stop that?
I will introduce legislation to not spend the Social Security money, Medicare money, or Federal Highway Trust Fund in the general fund. Right now it's just dumped in, and it's all gone. In fact, the only thing Social Security has now is a bunch of paper, treasury bills, but they don't have the money to pay for it unless they tax the next generation, because it's all gone. So I say we put it in a separate fund the way it always was intended to be, a trust fund, and we don't spend it for anything else. And we don't borrow, because for 30 or 40 years, there was a Social Security surplus. But the surplus was immediately spent and invested in treasury bills that are non-negotiable, that require another generation to pay taxes on. So I'd say quit spending it, but it takes, quit spending it on things other than what it was intended to be used for, and make it a separate trust fund.
Good question. Ma'am, go ahead.
I have heard from several sources that the American Nazi Party supports your father. Does the Kentucky Nazi Party support you?
I've never met anybody from any Nazi party, and that's a ridiculous charge and completely baseless. And let me just go further. It's the reason why it's a baseless charge is Nazism was government socialism. It's big government. I mean, there's nothing about Nazism that would even appeal remotely to people who like what I stand for, because I'm for limited constitutional government.